Rattle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise to offer my amendment that prohibits funds made available by this act to be used for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Accessibility Council at the Department of the Interior. In February of 2022, Secretary Haaland established the first ever Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Council through Secretary's Order 3406 to incorporate these practices into the department's work across many bureaus. Let's be honest here. The DEI agenda is a destructive ideology that breeds hatred and racial division. It has no place in our federal government or anywhere else in our society. DEI exists to be a jobs program for otherwise unemployable holders of gender studies degrees who ruin just about everything they touch. Since taking office, the Biden-Harris regime has implemented DEI policies across virtually every agency in the federal government. The DEI is focused on coddling unequipped and incompetent employees, and I think we've seen that by all of the resignations from these DEI hires in this administration in just a few short years. As we saw a mere 11 days ago, DEI hires and incompetency at Secret Service were responsible for letting a deranged gunman come centimeters from killing President Trump. And I'm not talking about the folks who were there, boots on the ground. I'm talking about the disgraced director of the Secret Service who resigned today after scrutiny from both Republicans and Democrats, and those all throughout our country. Mr. Chair, we should no longer allow DEI and the federal government to continue to divide America and waste taxpayer money. It's absurd to fund these diverse policies, and it's time for Congress to put an end to them once and for all. The Department of Interior should be focused on restoring American energy dominance, not pandering to radical leftists. This is not about race or gender or anything else included in the DEI agenda of the left. This is about having the best, most equipped, most qualified personnel in their positions, no matter what their race or gender are. I urge my colleagues to support my amendment to abolish this demonizing DEI council. Mr. Chair, I reserve.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentlewoman is recognized. For what purpose does the gentlewoman
still from Minnesota? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
The gentlewoman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wrong in the strongest opposition possible to this amendment. One of our greatest strengths as a nation is we learn, we grow, we change. And that means diversity is a great strength in this country. There was a time, Mr. Chair, when women couldn't vote. There was a time when juries were only men. There was a time when it was unthinkable for a woman to join a police department, or a woman to be a doctor. The place was to be a nurse. There was a time in our military in which women could be test pilots here at home during the war. And after the war, they were no longer allowed to be pilots in the sky flying commercially. Diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. The American experience is not a singular experience, and diversity programs exist to recognize this. I'm going to give another example, Mr. Chair. When I was in the state legislature in Minnesota, we had a vibrant Hmong community that came here after the Lao war in Vietnam. It was a secret war in Laos. And the Hmong community came here, and they were very outdoors people. And, understanding and making sure that they understood our natural resource laws, we decided we wanted to reach out and include that diversity. And so we went out, and I was part of the legislation that was written, that we asked our Natural Resources Department to hire, to look for qualified people, hires Vietnamese, Lao, Cambodian people to work with our wonderful diverse community in the Twin Cities and have them feel included and wanted because we wanted them to experience the great outdoors in Minnesota. Well, we did that. They were well qualified, well respected, and in fact, just this year, I was surprised. One of the fathers came up to me when I was doing my recruitment and acceptance for going into the military academy. And he said, "You don't remember me, but because of you, I felt like I could do this job, and I did it well." And he retired from the state of Minnesota working for the Department of Natural Resources, and I appointed his son to go to one of our military academies. And that's the beauty of our country. And the fact is also that business leaders agree that having a diverse and inclusive workforce in the place is critical to their overall performance, because I was in sales for years. If you're selling to somebody, you better understand their culture, you better understand their needs and their wants. So the business community embraces this. So the attempt to defund or to block the implementation of these efforts only takes us back to a time when our nation's diversity, when women were not seen as an asset. So I oppose this amendment, and Mr. Chair, I'm not going to speak on this any longer. This has been replayed over and over and over again, and for me, it is hateful, it is hurtful, it is harmful. We amended our Constitution numerous times to include diversity and inclusion, and with that, I yield back.
The gentlewoman yields. The gentlewoman is recognized.
Mr. Chair, may I inquire as to how much time I have remaining?
The gentlewoman has 2 minutes remaining.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. America is great, and we're going to make America even greater in the upcoming months and years. America is diverse. America is the great melting pot of the world. We have some of the world's best, the world's finest. And it's amazing. All it took were people coming together to adopt the 19th Amendment, to allow women to vote. It took people coming together and collaborating to hire women as police officers or firefighters or pilots. Heck, I've flown a plane. Little Husky 180. Great time. Enjoying the sights of Colorado and all of the mountainsides. We have an economy right now that is failing because we have a party and an administration that is prioritizing DEI, something we didn't need to have women as police officers or firefighters or pilots or service members, those who would offer up their own lives to serve in the honor of our great country, who would stand for our flag. And because of DEI and this administration's woke agenda and their radical views, we have now been regulated into poverty. I remember a time also where women could, if they chose, stay home and raise their children. And now women are forced to work and have homes with 2 incomes because they cannot afford their groceries or their gasoline to get their children to school. And it's all because of the policies of this radical agenda. I'm fine with diversity. America is known for being a welcoming country. But this DEI program isn't what makes America great, and we never needed it to be great. And I'm calling for it to come to an end. I yield.
The question is on